Flip-flop. Flip-flop. Flip-flop.
All right, we're going to be talking about flipping and flopping.
Flip-flop. We do it.
Okay, well, this has kind of started off as a more serious subject.
It did.
Because as a managing senior partner, I irritate people.
MSP, managing senior partner.
Yes, I do irritate people that work on my cases, and even not that don't work on my cases, because I change my mind. Now, and people, that does drive people crazy, especially if you're a lawyer. Just imagine you're a logical, linear, goal-oriented lawyer, and there's this person that keeps changing their mind. Okay,
Yeah.
So let's go. I want to talk about this because this is kind of a therapy session for me. All right, you guys, you're my therapist.
All right.
But I also think there's positive. So number one, a lot of people think that I am dogmatic and closed-minded. We've already talked about that. I am not. Because I am not, I am open to changing my mind. So by definition, people that criticize me for changing my mind overlook the fact that that could be a good thing. It could be a good sign. The fact that I changed my mind. Because I am not closed-minded. Number two, I'm very defensive right now. I understand. Number two.
Yes, you are being very defensive.
You cannot be a trial lawyer
Okay.
and have your whole plan figured out from the day you take the case to the end and follow that plan. You cannot go into trial with that plan and follow that plan to the very end. Well, maybe once in a while it'll happen, that dream will come true.
Yeah.
But mostly what will happen is that things do not go according to plan. Or you got a juror that you didn't expect to get. Or the defense has changed a tactic. Or a witness is completely changed. Or this didn't happen or that didn't happen. And you have to pivot on a dime. If you are kind of person that only can do that whole, here I've done the whole process, and here it has to go this way to be perfect to get out the door, it will drive you crazy as a trial lawyer. Where someone with me, as me, it does not bother me. In fact, hush, still silence. I prefer it. Number three, I find that if you're too regimented, life is boring. So I just like to see what the possibilities are. Maybe I already came up with how many times have I changed my living room, right? I like it this way, I love it this way. And then, there you know, I'm changing my furniture in the middle of the night because I just wanted to see what it would look like. And maybe I'll change it all the way back.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to see. Maybe there is a better way to do it.
Yeah.
So that possibility that maybe there's a way to do it,
Yeah.
which is an insatiable characteristic that I have of, I'm never completely satisfied because I think that there's nothing finite about what I can accomplish or experience as long as I'm alive. When I'm dead, it's going to be finished. I recognize that. But I feel that the only limits that are going to ultimately be ones that, I can't overcome are the ones that I put on myself. I find that, yeah. Because
What do you mean by that?
Because if other people put limits on me, I'm going to climb right all over them.
Okay, but what do you mean by the limits that you put on yourself?
I think that people limit themselves,
Uh-huh.
and then you are limited.
Okay, fair.
I feel that if that's why I'm not, if there are limits, I'm going to climb over them. And as we've already known, Darian, our coach, outed me in our firm meeting because someone was complaining, or not complaining, I shouldn't say complaining, expressing concern about process and making, at what point would there be too much process? And the coach said, well, you don't never have to worry about that because your MSP hates process.
Hates process.
So this is the issue of a person that changes their mind. Number four, I am decisive. I'm very decisive. I make decisions all the time and I don't hesitate. I can make that decision and I'm going to go. However, I may go back, or I may go right, or I might go up, or I'm going to keep making those decisions. I don't just make one decision and that's the one decision that's going to carry me through. I have no problems revisiting it, changing it. I'm fairly aggravating. Number five, this is my last and final point in my defensiveness over my flip-flopping. I appreciate the fact that it confounds the defense. I appreciate the fact that the defense goes bonkers because I am not just linear and logical and going to go down way. I am going to go down and then whoop, I'm going to veer right. And then whoop, I'm going to go veer left. Oh, nope, she's going down. Where is she going?
Yeah.
So these are my defenses of what potentially is not a character flaw, but a personality flaw.
Yeah, I don't think they're flaws. I think they're just qualities, right? And then so there's a couple of ways I think about it. I go, I mean, if we want to examine it,
Do you do it?
I am a lot of what you described.
But maybe not as much.
Well, I don't know. For me, I can tell you that I'm very decisive, but when I'm working with you, I give space to you to be decisive because it's your space. That's your space that I'm in. And I'm there to support your decisiveness.
I know, but what if you're not working with me?
Oh, I'm an animal. I mean, like I see things like moving in a case in like 5-6 different ways. Mm-hmm. And I can see it in my mind. And my creativity is that I remember everything about a case. I know all the facts. Like I know every detail. I have this photographic memory. I know where the documents are. I know where I've seen it. And the stories are like narratives are playing out in my mind constantly. At night, in the morning, when I'm in the shower, when I'm playing basketball, constantly running those stories and seeing what would happen. It's almost like I'm a movie director and I see how it's going to go and what's going to happen. And where my strength lies is that I am very good at predicting where things are going to go. And
you have to do that. And you have to do that in the practice of law.
Yeah. I'm very good at predicting direction and I know what's going to happen. And then what I'm really, really good at is terrifying the other side about outcomes. That's what I'm really good at, terrifying the other side. And like in my experience, I've gotten a couple of lawyers to quit the practice of law because I've terrified them so much that they, on the other side, they have quit, they have left. And I've had lawyers complain about the way I practice law because it makes them so uncomfortable. I work
opposing lawyers.
Opposing lawyers.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Opposing lawyers. And the other thing is like my work ethic.
Wait, don't tell them all your problems all at once. We're only supposed to be talking about the directions and the flip-flops.
Oh, that's then let's go back. The directions and the flip-flops, I want to talk about my relationship and when I'm working with you. And you are a flip-flopper. I mean, you are flip-flop with a capital F.
Wait. Mike, you know me. You've known me for longer than Mo, and even though you're not a lawyer, it's just like, hey, Karen, what color should we paint this? Am I a flip-flopper?
You are. But what I will say in defense of you is that I think that good leaders should be flip-floppers because you flip-flop either on a feeling that you have or information that you've gotten for the people that work below you. And in my experience of working with you for a long time now, you listen, which is what I feel is the most important for someone who's above me. If you listen to what everyone's saying, and then, or you listen to your gut, like you said, when you make changes like that, sure, it drives everybody crazy. And don't get me wrong, it's driven me crazy plenty of times.
Yes.
But it also works really well. And, maybe that's not everything, but when it comes to the cases that you work on, it works more often than it doesn't.
Very interesting.
And kind of to add to that is that, if you read like the best organizational psychologists' books about success, they talk about understanding that the people who excel in what they do have the qualities that you have. And if you are like a person who understands that, you don't try to change that or try to like combat or create conflict with that. You have to be with that. So I think that's my understanding. Yeah, you do flip-flop a lot. I mean, you do it all the time. I mean, you'll call me, and an hour later you'll call me and tell me something entirely different. And it's fine, you know?
But I would go back to what Karen said about how you make the decision. That's the important part.
Yes.
Whether or not it's changing your mind, it's being willing to make that decision and then stick with it, and until something else comes up. Like, that's where the flip-flop comes from. But like I said, if you weren't a good leader, flip-flop would be a weakness. I don't think it is in your case.
Interesting.
Yeah, you're not a flimsy flip-flopper.
No, I flip-flop with style.
Like, you know, like, so it's not like you're flip, flip, you know, you're not flip, flip, you know, but, you know, and then the other thing is that why would you, I think, I mean, if you want this to be a therapy session, I think that your qualities are things you did not like when you saw growing up, and you said, I am not going to be this way, I'm going to be another way. You develop these qualities, like you're decisive because you don't like procrastination. You don't like sitting around. Yeah. That's what makes you so decisive. And the other thing is that you're creative is because you don't like the rigid. You don't like being boxed in. You know, and the other thing is that you grew up in a very formulaic legal culture in an era dominated by a certain type of lawyer. And that like culture wasn't like, oh, come in, let us celebrate you from the start and lift you up professionally into the skies. No, they didn't. And what you did is you developed this person and you said, I will lay a flame to all of this and I will do it my way. Bye. And then now you're down your merry lane, and, you know, and I think it's great. It's great. I get it that like flip-flopping can make people feel uneasy. But Karen, you have to surround yourself with people who can take that. Because
so tell us, let's talk about some survival skills for those that are flip-flopped.
Like for those that are flip-flopped?
Mm-hmm. What are the survival skills?
One is that just breathe and understand that you're in an environment that is constantly changing, and adapt. So being an adaptable person, people with grit, with a little bit of resilience, are going to be fine in this flip-flop environment. So you got to develop a sense of grit, sense of resilience.
Do you agree with that, Mike?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And the other thing is that when you're asked to do something, or case is going to a particular direction, when the decision is made, and you're really good at this, present all of the potential outcomes to the decision maker, which is you, and you say, okay, if we're going to do this, then this, then this, then this. And then so right there, you're going to you'll do a flip-flop within a flip. So like you'll make a decision and then you'll be given feedback. So you have to be a person that's like, has resolve to kind of stand up and just be like, okay, Karen, that's great. But, and then you go, oh, well, I'm going to modify it a little bit. Constant. But that's key. So you have to be a really good communicator.
Yeah.
You have to be unafraid to tell you what your thoughts are. I disagree with you.
It really kind of came to a head for me in the Black Lives Matter case where, we were trying to train up new lawyers. We only ever thought we were going to have about 12 clients, but another firm brought their clients in, and then the firm kind of broke up, and so we ended up with 50 clients. And the scope of discovery on BLM was one of the biggest.
Massive.
It was so massive because of the body-worn videos. And how are we going to do that?
All the video was insane.
Well, okay, are we going to look at all the videos? No, we're going to have some. These people are going to look at the videos. No, they're not going to look at the videos. No, these people can look at the videos. Well, no, that's not looking at the videos, right? Well, that's how it was. It was just like, well, what solution's going to work? And because there wasn't a framework existing for like, how are you going to do that? So what I do, and people take it for flip-flop, and it kind of is I don't sit in it and just let it play out when I see it's going the wrong direction. I'm going to say, oh no, this is not heading the right direction.
Yeah, you see it.
Let's go.
That's true.
So I'm looking forward. What we should do the next time is our coach had us take these personality tests. Remember we took the strengths test? We should pull those out and go through our strengths.
Yeah.
But my number one is strategic.
That's mine too.
Well, that's why we get along. Because you're always thinking things, so many things, steps ahead. So what a lot of people do is they have a plan and they stay with that plan and they want to see if that plan is going to work out. They assume it will. Then if it isn't, then they want to give it more chances. I'm of the school of, oh no, this doesn't feel right. It's not going to work out. We got to change. And I want it to change immediately. And that causes discomfort for people that have to rush around. I know.
But that's the thing, that's not a bad thing in my mind. And I think that people that succeed in this environment need to learn to be able to bend like a reed if they're not the ones in charge.
But most lawyers and a lot of paralegals are not really bendable, right? There's a lot of OCD involved. All of us have OCD in the legal profession because we have to remember everything.
Yeah.
And we have to account for everything. So we're all super, super meticulous and busy. And so when there's someone that's that's like this, it causes some level of upheaval. But theoretically, you would think that people could deal with that better.
I think that's team synergy. Like you have to have the right team that can thrive with personalities within what I call team hierarchy. Yeah. So like you have to understand who the leader is. And there has to be a mindset that once the leader has made a decision, you have to back the leader no matter what. Yeah. Like all of one of the best organizational books I read is how Navy SEAL teams succeed. Like why they're so successful. It is because of this. I know you're doing, but I'm telling you, like these are like some of the most elite people who are doing some of the most things that need to change all the time and constantly demands change.
Their lives are dependent upon it.
Right. And so that kind of principle, what you're describing to me is that people being comfortable with the flip-flop you call it. Like you have to be with people that are okay, because there are other leaders, Karen, who are not like you. They don't flip-flop. They decide from the beginning of the case, this is what we're doing, and they have a formula and they follow it. And like some people thrive in that. And I think that the challenge is trying to figure out who do we piece together and say, this person is not going to do well within this model, no matter how hard we try, right? It's just not going to, they're not going to thrive. They're going to constantly, and so that's why I agreed with Mike that this is a good thing, because you have a demonstrated success that over years being this way. That's my thought.
Yeah, for sure. For some people, it is just, I can tell, and I've never been able to really, there's other things that I know drive people crazy, but I'm not a prototype.
Yeah.
And so if you work with me and don't embrace that fact, it's going to be hard. It's going to be frustrating. I'm not the typical formulaic, what you think of a lawyer.
Okay, so now you're talking about case practice, but you're just not a lawyer taking on cases. You're managing a firm.
Yeah, that's
so being a flip-flopper as a manager is a completely different experience.
Yeah.
Okay, so talk to me about that.
About managing the firm?
Yeah, how you flip-flop about how you manage the day-to-day structure.
Mike just did.
Okay, so
Mike just told you. I do it in all. I'm nothing if not consistent.
Okay, you are consistent, but it's a different experience because everybody's exposed to it.
Yes. Okay? Well, the good thing is that we're getting to a place where I'm very delegated out now. Like I was trying to do everything, and that was crushing me. So especially through the pandemic when we were all crushed, that's when things really started, that was really some tough times, that pandemic. But we did really well, I think, the first year, and then it was just like, So we needed more process. Not too much, but we did need some more process. Denny's a steady hand. He is different than I. He is not a flip-flopper. I'm sure I drive him pretty nuts sometimes. Yeah. But he is a steady hand, and he's very process-oriented.
Yes.
Andrew and Gemma, the newest partners, are of that school.
Yeah.
They are more steady hand. They love process. And, yeah. So we all are managing together, but I'm also really good at delegating when the time is right.
Yeah.
And that's what I've always been saying is like, I'm not good at delegating unless the time is right to delegate. This is a very important law firm,
Yeah.
and I can't just delegate to people that I don't think are quite ready. But now we have a lot of people that are ready. So I think what you're starting to see is a little bit more delegation in the law firm.
And when you delegate, that's the one thing I was going to say is you then are pretty hands off.
Yeah.
You let stuff play out. And if you see something going wrong, you'll come in and say, hey, this needs to change. But generally, you let people do their jobs. And that's going back to what you were saying about the SEAL team. Like, that's what I think is really important in this environment is for someone like me, knowing that I need to stick to what I need to do. And, you know, if I think of something that is maybe out of my scope, pass that on, but don't make that my responsibility. You know, like I need to let go then.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you do when you delegate.
Yeah. I'm not a bad delegator, but I am a bad delegator when I'm a really bad delegator is when I delegate and it doesn't turn out the way I want to, then I just take it back and do it myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm trying, and that's gotten me into a lot of trouble time-wise, and I've been counseled not to do that. But there's still times when I have to do it, but in general, I'm trying not to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and at least now you've recognized it and
Yeah.
you're aware of it so you can adjust.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, like I said, I think you do a great job
Oh, thanks.
at what you're doing here. And, you know, it's a lot different than it was when I first started here.
Oh, yeah.
How is it different, Mike? Yeah. Let's
When I first started here, there were, gosh, how many male names in that
All of
one?
them.
It was
Yeah.
There's
1,
like
2,
13 of
3,
them,
4,
and me.
5, and Karen.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm just talking about the ones that were named in the
Oh, yeah.
name. Yeah, there were more than. I mean, it was all guys and you
Yep.
until we had one other female start, and then another one, and you know, then it kind of started changing. But before that, I mean, it was.
More than 10 years.
I want to say. I don't want this to come out the wrong way, but it was a little fratish,
Oh, fratish.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can understand.
kind of like a fraternity.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all of the things that go with that. Not the negative so much, but it was very much. They considered. I remember one time this person called them cowboys, and that's very much kind of the way that it was. You never knew who was going to be going crazy. I got in a lot of situations where you know. Two attorneys were screaming at each other while I was standing in the middle of it. And, you know, that doesn't happen here anymore. But that's what it was like for a long time.
Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is a lot of stuff going on. Let's just
Oh,
put it
yeah.
that
No,
way.
we don't need to go too deep
No,
into
we
it.
don't gotta go too deep in that one.
But that's a choice. That's like a culture choice. And so you
But
came.
that was the culture. That was the culture of male. The plaintiff law
Yeah.
firms were all maverick, and most of them were male,
Yeah.
heavily male. At least at the top levels, they were heavily
Yeah.
male, and they didn't always behave well.
And then, but
No,
you
they
came
did
in.
not.
But you came in and you've changed it. Okay.
They stopped
but-
swearing in meetings.
Huh?
They stopped swearing in meetings.
Because of you?
Yes, they were. I didn't care if they swore or not.
They still swore all over the office, though.
Yeah, but they didn't swear in the meetings.
You know, the one thing is that is there good from that culture that the firm is now missing? That's what I'm interested in. Like, because you're talking about excellent human beings and lawyers like Paul and Keith and Brad and you know.
So what I remember, but I do think the tradition lives on.
Yeah.
Coming over to this firm from being, in a partner with Pat LaPlay, was the brain trust was so enormous. I was 44 years old when I came to this law firm, and so I didn't know. I mean, now, it's 20 years later. I don't want to say I know everything because I don't.
Yeah.
but I know so much.
Yeah.
I was just like, this is so heavy in terms of the amount of intellect here. I mean, we had Withy, who's just an encyclopedia of knowledge. Everybody was, Strip Matter was so imposing. Everybody was so, so smart. So you go into these meetings, and I would just be so happy to be there.
Yeah.
I mean, I just felt so nourished, and now, it's like, I know the game. I know not the game parts of it, but I also know I know so much of it. I don't know everything. There's stuff I learn, but it's a different level, like just because I'm 20 years into it, if that makes sense.
But I didn't think you answered my question. What about the culture?
That's a
That was
culture.
good. Okay, so the brain trust, you wish the brain trust, that would have been quality that maybe was still here.
It is still here, but
Okay.
it's different because I'm at the top of the brain trust. When I came in, I was not at the top of the brain trust.
I get
That's
it.
what I'm saying.
Okay, what about like temperament? What about like the weather, the environment inside the office? What's missing?
What's missing from the office is
Some of the flair.
Yeah, I agree.
the enormous personalities, but also the physical presence of everybody in the office.
Yeah.
Waylon would come in just to read the paper. I mean, we all knew that. He came in the morning, he read the paper, but he was there. We didn't have the Hoquiam people. We didn't have Paul or Keith, but they were available. And as people get older, you don't expect them to be in the office that much. But they were younger. Everybody was in their 40s and 50s. Maybe some were in their starting to get into their 60s.
Yeah.
When I joined over there, but it was a loud office.
Yes.
There was a lot going on. There was a lot of stuff going on. There's a
Yes.
lot of hustle and bustle.
Yes.
It's a very quiet office.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
then-
different now. After COVID, everything's changed. So
It did, and there used to be boxes, and you're moving them, and you're shredding this, and there's a noise of the printers, and then the people are dictating, and and everybody's coming in for like 3 depositions in the building in one day, and then you're having a moot trial, and they're just so much busy, and people came in to see the lawyers instead of appearing by Zoom. It's
Yeah.
different.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I will say this, is that I don't think the office has a lot of male energy.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Do I have to edit this out?
No, and can I be, okay, am I allowed to speak?
No.
This is
I cannot believe Mike is dying.
Well,
Who are you? Do you not know who I am?
I know who
How
you
dare
are.
you say that in my presence?
And what I'm talking about is like, I have a group of friends, right? And like, we're just a bunch of guys being guys.
Okay.
Wait,
This is the worst stuff you've ever said to me in your whole life.
No, I'm just saying, I'm not saying like.
He went out to go kill animals and put on bearskins the other day, and he told me, he's like, yeah, I'm going out with all of these, people, and we're going to go put bearskins on us and kill animals. I'm like, oh my God, don't even talk to me about this.
No, I'm not. See, this is the shift in culture. But what I'm saying is that is it even feasible to have some of that energy mixed with the energy that we have now, like a diverse energy.
Okay,
that's
true.
what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about
it is true that the males have become the minority in the law firm.
Yes.
By far.
And like
but,
and then there's diversity, equity, inclusion.
Yeah, well, so
Come on, Mike, help me out here.
So
Yes.
what the heck, Mo? Okay, so first of all, there are some real characters in this law firm.
Yes.
Okay, a lot of them are staff.
Yes.
But I would say there is one difference, and it's not gender-based, about the firm and I think, Mike, that this is what the true explanation is.
Yeah.
Got a lot of introverts in the firm. A lot of the lawyers are not A personalities. And when I joined that firm, we were all A personalities.
Oh yeah, no,
Except for Garth.
It was
Anyway.
well, yeah, and Garth was in Hoquiam, so
They were
we
in
didn't really
Hoquiam.
see him that much.
In Seattle,
But Seattle
we were
was
all A.
all type A.
Okay, so
All
then
A's.
maybe then I will edit what I just said.
Oh, Absolutely. Wait. Maybe you will edit what you said.
I will edit what I said. But okay, now I know that this is not a safe space to talk about maleness.
It is. It is fine. And we can talk
This is
about
not safe.
We can talk about maleness. I'm kidding. We can talk about
All right.
But what you're talking about, that energy,
Yeah.
is that type A energy, and it's not male.
Okay, all right, I agree. I know a couple of lawyers right out of the gates that are Amy Parker. She is what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, she's female, and so. But I guess you're right. But I want like what you described about that meeting, the brain trust and like
There was a lot of fights though in
you know,
those
like
meetings
just
too.
a little bit of like intellectual, like getting at it, and nobody being like, "Oh, close the door," and
Yeah.
you know that stuff. I mean, that's like generational. I think that's just I think is maybe generational. I don't know.
It's a little generational, I would say.
little.
You know?
That kind of thing has changed across the board everywhere.
Yeah.
And I
Not
think
tolerated.
that's just part of society changing from, you know.
I had to de-escalate people and separate them in meetings.
Oh, yeah.
Not physically like Mike did.
But this, by the way, this is not the first time. Whenever I talk about this topic with like my wife or anybody,
Because you're talking about it terribly.
well, no, but the thing is.
It's not male energy that you're trying to
well,
describe.
okay, then it's not. Then okay,
You
that's
don't-
my
you're-
bias. That's my bias.
It
but
is
let
your
me finish.
bias.
That is my bias. I admit, mea culpa. What I'm saying is that when I say you don't feel safe, it's turned into like, oh, this is sexism, and I'm like, I am like the least sexist guy there is out there. I think.
No, you're not. But like these are some
getting
of the things.
clobbered here,
These are
Mike.
some of the things that Mo does. He's like, I'm going out with the guys. I'm like, where are you? He goes, you're gonna laugh. He's like, where are you? He's like, well, we're gonna go see MMA.
Yeah, which is
He's like,
yeah.
you want to come? I'm like, I do not want to come.
Why
to see
not?
MMA. Then, or he wants to go, like I said, into the forest with the bear stuff and shoot at poor. I hope that you didn't shoot anything.
We did not shoot any
Thank
animals.
God,
we
'cause-
just shot guns.
Okay, yeah,
That's
they
all we
want
did.
to shoot guns. I mean, he's got, anyway, I have no problem with it. I don't really care for it, is all. I have my own things I like.
But what are we doing? We're talking about culture, Karen, and I'm like,
I'm
does the-
open-minded, but I'm not going to MMA.
But I go to the, I do all the other stuff. I'm open. I'm totally open.
Well, I know that you like going to the spa and getting manicures.
Yeah, I do like that. I do. But like, you can have both worlds, is what I'm saying. Like, you can be in both worlds, and that you create an office culture that incorporates both worlds in a very healthy way. So, you know, that's all. Because, you know, this is about flip flopping.
It was,
But
as
it's
usual,
careened away from that.
as usual, we've left it, and we're now talking about male energy, folks.
I know
Male
we
energy.
we did the track, but I want to go back to flip flopping. If
No,
you're
it's too late for that.
No, but if you're able to flip flop about your ideas, you're so creative. Open your mind and frame and accept this narrative that you can flip flop about your ideas about what office culture should be like.
I'm totally open to that.
Okay, that's
but
all.
this is how it works.
Yeah.
We make a suggestion of, hey, who wants to come do this? And then no one says yes, and so we don't do it. And then we say, well, who wants to go do this? And then people say yes, and that's what we do. Like, we kind of let the majority rule.
The majority.
And
does
you
it.
guys are now in the minority, so now you know what it feels like. So if you want to do what you want to do, because
gotta-
you're a minority and you'll always be overruled, then you have to just insist on equality and reverse discriminate us.
Okay, so what I got to do is I got to march for my rights.
That's right.
That's what I got to do.
You got to march for your rights.
Mike, march with me.
I will.
Okay, that was good.